You know, we had a pretty exciting week last week here in class. It's very nice that you all actually have a nice seat to sit in, as opposed to sitting on the stairs or in standing room only at the back. And you may have seen a photo of yourself if you were in the front here in the Boston Globe on Friday morning when they reported on the open classroom. This is our third class now, and we're in for another spectacular evening. Two of my closest friends are speaking tonight. And we're going to be looking at the whole question of jobs, and we're going to be looking also at the whole question of industry regulation, and so forth from our two speakers. I want to remind you that we will go back to our format today, which is both of our speakers will speak for about 20 or 25 minutes. We'll take a very brief 5-minute break so you can stretch your legs or use the facilities. And then we'll come back for a good session of questions and answers through 8 o'clock tonight. Okay? I also want to remind you that next week will be another stellar pair joining us. Both the current president and CEO of the Boston Federal Reserve Bank, Eric Rosengren, and the immediate previous CEO and president of the Boston Fed, Kathy Minahan, who's now the dean of the School of Management at Simmons College, just down the road. And they will be looking at the whole question of monetary policy. If you follow the newspapers, it is fair to say that Eric Rosengren may be the most important person on the planet today, having convinced the rest of the Board of Governors that the Federal Reserve Bank should stimulate the economy. And of course, we now have a $400 billion stimulus package coming down the road in terms of trying to keep long-term mortgage rates low in order to re-stimulate the housing market and help the economy along. And Kathy will be introducing her colleague. I think you'll find it an interesting evening. We hope you'll come back to join us. So tonight, we have a dear friend of mine, Tom Hogan. Tom and I have known each other for many years and have actually worked together. We are working together on a new project that I'm very excited about. Both Tom and I have done a lot of work in labor relations, he much more than me. But we have a significant amount of funding from the Gates Foundation and from Race to the Top to create a new Massachusetts Education Partnership, which will be announced very soon, which brings together both of the major teachers unions in the state, the Massachusetts Teachers Association and the Massachusetts American Federation of Teachers, along with the Massachusetts Association of School Superintendents and the Massachusetts Association of School Committees. And we're working with MIT, UMass Boston, and Northeastern University, along with the Rennie Center on Education, to develop what we hope will be an absolute alternative way for labor and management to work together, not so much to serve the interests of the taxpayer or serve the interests of the teacher, but to serve the interests of the kids in school. Certainly, based on what we've seen in terms of more than 2 years before we got a contract between the Boston Teachers Union and the Boston School Committee, and the fact that, at least as of yesterday, teachers were still on strike in Chicago, this is a moment for Massachusetts to do it differently. And we're hoping that what we've started here in Massachusetts is going to bear fruit. Keep your ear tuned for that. Tom Hogan is the Distinguished Professor of Management at MIT's Sloan School of Management, as well as co-director of both of MIT's Workplace Center and its Institute for Work and Employment Research. Previously, he has been president of both the Industrial Relations Association and the Industrial Relations Research Association, and from 1933, when he was an advisor to Franklin Delano, from 1933 to 1995, he served on the Clinton administration's Commission on the Future of Worker Management Relations. And joining Tom and me is my colleague here from Northeastern, John Quokka. Some of you have heard him lecture before in the open classroom and in the teach-in that Governor Dukakis and I sponsored last year. He's our distinguished professor here at Northeastern, currently a research fellow also at the American Antitrust Institute. He's previously been a fellow at the Brookings Institution in Washington and Harvard's Kennedy School of Government. He's worked at the Federal Trade Commission, the Antitrust Division of the Department of Justice, and the Federal Communications Commission, as well as being a faculty at a number of universities. So we will begin with Tom Koken, who's going to talk about jobs and the future of employment, and we'll follow up with John Croca, who will be talking to us about industry, regulation, and what we can do to restart the economy.